Well, Mr. Glenn, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Eric Glenn. I have been a teacher for about 14 years. I taught high school for the first half of my career, and now I'm currently teaching middle school in the Los Angeles area. And I
Yeah,
love teaching. I don't think I'll ever stop.
yeah. So we were just talking earlier about your summer. How's your summer going so far? You've been on a lot of trips. I know we talked a little bit
Oh,
about it.
so many trips. I think we counted, and there's about 6 trips that I will have taken this summer. We've
Wow.
done 5 already. And usually I teach summer school. I work during the summer, but my wife and I decided that it'd be best I take the summer off, and we're taking full advantage of it. I don't think that I have. I think I've been away from home more days than I've been home this summer,
Yeah,
which has been
that's
interesting.
that's exciting. Like I saw one of the trips where you guys are camping, but then you have this like large screen and you're playing like Mario Kart or something like that.
So this was a camping trip that we take with some young people every year, just me and my wife.
Mhm.
And we've mentored young people for a long time, and so we take a few students camping. And my wife and I love to camp, but we don't camp; we glamp.
Yeah.
And so we have a trailer, and I have this huge screen that I can hook onto the side of the trailer, and we have a pretty awesome projector that we can just watch movies and play Mario Kart,
Yeah.
and there's Mario Party too, which is like a board game, but
Mhm.
on the screen.
Yeah, and then you went to, was it Red Rock, or where is that rock place where there's like a concerts are held?
So Red Rocks is a pretty legendary concert venue in Colorado.
Yeah.
And we were meant to stay in Colorado for more than we did, except for I had another trip with an after school program where we take kids basically to visit colleges and take tours of colleges. Because I don't know how much those students that we took would get that opportunity,
Yeah.
with just their parents. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Red Rocks is a pretty legendary concert venue. We saw 2 of our favorite bands. One that we love here in LA opened for another one that we also love, and so we only spent one night in Colorado.
Yeah. So for me, for this summer, I think that all I've been to is Vegas. So went to Vegas right at the beginning of the year. Usually we have like a family trip where everybody goes. We have this place in Las Vegas, this timeshare, and there's about, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 10 of us that go. And this year my kids were busy. This year my kids had things to do. Oh, we can't make it this time, or we have things to do. They're adults now, which is understandable. And so we're like, me and my wife are like, all right, well, let's just go, me and you. And so we went to Vegas for a few days, maybe 4 days or something like that. But besides that, my summer has been, waking up same time, wake up the same time, but my mornings are slow. I drink coffee slower. I have time to read. Um, I have time to make videos. Like I actually have time to sit and think and create something and be like, all right, I can make a video today. 1:30 is my nap time all the time, so I'm always taking naps at 1:30. Take a good,
Every day.
yeah, every day.
Yes.
Every day. I'm like, how do I not take a nap now? How when I go back to work on Monday, how do I not take a nap at about 1:30, 2 o'clock? What am I gonna do? So I'm a little worried about that. But I take my nap, I get up, it's like, I don't know, 2-ish, walk my dog a little bit outside, not a long walk, just a little bit because he's been in the house for a bit, and then make dinner. And then about, I don't know, I take another walk, a full walk with my dog about, I don't know, like 7. And that's my day. It's, I get my workout in the morning, and, I'll stretch later on at night, but it's more of like just doing whatever I want to do and not really having work to dictate, this is the time that you have free to yourself. And it's been great. It's been really good. So,
Yeah.
but one of the reasons why I brought you on this podcast was to talk about how to open up a school, how to open up your first month of school. Like what are the procedures? What are academic expectations, behavior expectations, and what should admin do? Like, in your opinion, what should admin do? I would like to hear what you have to say about, like, well, admin, I think admin should be doing these kind of things. Um, and so let's start there. Like, what would you say is the most important thing when opening up the school year?
Are you talking about like what I think would
What
be?
should you do as a classroom teacher? As a classroom teacher.
And one of the things that I didn't think of my first few years of teaching was how I wanted my class to run on a daily basis. And so I didn't know what procedures or routines that I wanted to implement. But as the years progressed, I'm like, oh, this is how I want it to run. This is how I want students to walk into class. This is how I want to how I want students to exist in the class, and this is how I want students to walk out of the class.
Yeah.
Um, and so the first, gosh, I'm probably the most exhausted as a teacher the first 3 4 weeks of school because
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of teaching routines and procedures, but I'm doing that at the same time that I'm teaching them other things. Like I'll start the math curriculum the first week, but it will be concurrent with I'm teaching these students routines and procedures and how I want them to complete the work and how I want them to stay seated and how I want them to ask to go to the bathroom and how I want it really is thinking about all of the small things, all of the
So
tiny little details.
yeah, so do you lay that out first? Like, do you type it out and you have an idea, like, you okay, this is what I'm doing, or off the top of your head, you just, as a veteran teacher already, you already know what you have to do.
So I mean, I know what the first. This year is actually going to be different because we're switching from a 6 period day to a block schedule, which
Mm,
we're going from 60-minute periods to 88-minute periods. And so I've been doing a ton of just thinking. I don't really write things down, but I kind of I want to be in mid-season form on day one.
yeah,
And so I do a lot of thinking. I do a lot of like, okay, if I do it this way, how will the kids respond? If I do it this way, how will the kids respond? And how I think what would make our 88 minutes with sixth graders the smoothest it can possibly be.
yeah.
So a lot of thinking, not a lot of writing, but definitely thinking about what I'm going to do.
For me, when I was a classroom teacher, I wrote everything down. Like, I had to write everything down. I was good on the fly. I could be a good on the fly, whatever, but I needed some sort of template. And then I taught block schedule when I taught middle school. So maybe if we were block schedule for the first 4 years I taught middle school, then the next two were like the regular, whatever, 55-minute periods. But our block schedule, I think, was 90 minutes long. It was a long time to be with these kids. And so on the board, I would put down, okay, from this time to this time, this is what we're doing, and this time to this time, this is what we're doing. And so it was everything was just laid out for the kids and for me too. And they would be like, "How long are we gonna?" Well, it says right there, this is how long we're gonna do it for. This amount of time. And then I'd go and I just cross something off, and I'd cross something off, and it was like satisfying for myself and for the kids to be like, "All right, we're going through the schedule. There's no surprises. I know what's coming up next. I know for how long we're going to have to do this. And this 90-minute period is not going to be that exhausting."
Mm,
Versus if you just, because I've done it too, where it was like, okay, well, let's just, here we go. And there's nothing on the board and it seems like forever. But these little timestamps would be like, okay, next is this. You got 20 minutes of this, then 20 minutes of that. And it helped me break apart that 90 minutes. That was helpful for me. And then when it came to classroom procedures, I typed them all up. I was like, okay, this is what it is, and I didn't want to miss anything because I feel like if I, off the top of my head, I would have missed something. There was something that I was like, damn, I missed that. And then I have to go back and be like, oh, let me just, and this is what we do with this, guys. And I didn't like that feeling of not knowing. Like, I wanted the kids to know on day one, here's just about everything. This is about everything right here. So, like you were saying, how you enter, how you exit. One of the biggest ones was movement in the classroom.
mm,
Like, how do you move in the classroom? Because not everybody could just get up and move around. There has to be some sort of procedure on that.
yeah.
What do you do with movement in the classroom,
So Mr. V, which was
Mr. V?
uh, a previous guest you've had on the podcast,
Yes.
inspired me to do hand signals. So I do hand signals, and my hand signals are different than his. I mean, they're all numbers, and students, they have to. This is one thing that I struggle with, but I feel like it is the secret to keeping a less chaotic class is students have to have my permission to get up and walk around.
Hmm.
They have to have my permission to go use the pencil sharpener. They have to have my permission to um, go to the bathroom. I will always say yes, unless there's somebody already up or somebody already in the bathroom. But I will always say yes. It's not like I'm a dictator in that way. But I feel like having a less chaotic classroom means the one rule is stay in your seat until you have permission to get up and move around. Just
Yeah.
stay in your seat.
Yeah.
Um, and so, they put up a one for the bathroom. They put up a two for a pencil. So they don't get up to go get pencils if they need to borrow one. I bring it to them, and so they put up a two for a pencil. And what's crazy about the pencil, I kind of just slip that in their fingers, and they just get going. A three for tissue, and a five for a question. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so it's use those hand signals, and we teach those on day one. Where if a kid gets up, I'm like, nope, sit down, and I'm quick to the draw. No, sit down, sit down. Look up, look. I have like a big poster with all of the hand signals up at the front of the room. I'm like, there's a hand signal for that. And they learn really quickly in the first few days that it's really, to be honest with you, like I think they enjoy it. I think they it's easier for them because they can get my attention really quick. I don't even have to say a word. I don't even have to stop my lesson. I can just point, and they go to the sharpener or go to the
Yeah.
bathroom, whatever it is. And so it's really, really nice to not have to even stop my lesson to allow somebody to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. V. Shout
Yeah.
out to Mr. V because I watched some. He's been on break right now, so he hasn't been putting out as many videos as he has. But like when it comes down to those hand signals, and he always credits the guy who wrote the book. I can't think of his name, but he always credits that guy. He just recently passed away.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I can't think of his name,
Me
but
neither.
yeah, but he has that down to a T. Like the hand signals, and I've never used hand signals. You're in high school, correct? Is it high school or middle
I'm
school?
a middle school teacher.
Middle school. And so in middle school, you don't get much pushback from them using hand signals at all.
And look, it's the way I frame it too. This is
Yeah.
easier for me, but it's also easier for you. It's easier for everyone if you just do it this way.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest with you, I think it would work with seniors. I mean, look, seniors are 18. I'm sure those teachers probably can just let their students get up and go to the bathroom whenever they want.
Yeah.
Um, but even in high school, I think that hand signals are just, I don't know. It feels like it's respectful to both parties.
Yeah. And I feel like too, like it's quick to the point. Like if you had something small, like I just need to get a pencil. Like something, and I don't need to have this long conversation with you. I just need whatever the pencil hands. That I just need this thing. It's like if you were in line for something. This is what reminds me of. If you're in line for something, maybe you're at the DMV. It was like you were talking with this person, and then you had left, and you're like, oh, I forgot to get what window was it, and you don't want to stand back in that long line again and wait and be like, all right. You just want to be like, hey, could I just get your attention?
Yep.
Where's the next? That's kind of what reminds me of with the hand signals. Like, could I just get a pencil? Could I just get this? Could I get something quick? And you're over there teaching, and you could just be like, yes, 1 second, finish that part, and then you could go. I don't know what you say, but like something like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
They Uh, I was about to say something and then lost my train of thought. I get about 3.5 miles of walking distance a day just in my classroom.
Hmm.
I'm the one standing up in the class, and everybody's sitting down. So when they put their hand up, it gets my attention pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
whatever number they're putting up, I can put it to rest pretty quick, and I can take care of their need really quickly so that I can just continue teaching.
So how important is it for you to be the one that's always walking around?
Proximity is super important, and I will walk by every student's desk probably three, four. I don't even, gosh, a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of look at what they're doing and listen to their conversations, and that's for a number of reasons, but mostly because I just want to hear them talking about math because that's the subject that I'm teaching. I really want them to be having productive discourse in their small groups, and that's what I'm listening for. And I will always praise them for doing that, but also just walking around, making sure that they know that like I might be behind them. really helps them remember to do the right thing. So
When did you realize that was important? What? When was it? When did you realize? Because not everybody does this. Not everybody. People just sit in their desk. Teachers will sit in their desk and just sit there. You know, they'll get up once in a while. Some teachers will just stay there. When did you realize that it was important to move around the classroom?
uh, probably when I started teaching middle school.
Immediately. Okay. Yeah.
Probably when I started teaching middle school, because they need that constant reminder that like I'm right behind them, or I'm near them, or I can hear what they're saying. They're always kind of testing the waters and testing what they can say and what they can't say, testing how much work they can get away with, how much they can just sit there and do nothing, that kind of stuff, and being close to them to be able to like. And I'm not going to put kids on the spot. I'm not going to yell out their name. I might kneel down and be like, hey, what are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Are you doing it? um, those questions come from Capturing Kids' Hearts. If you haven't,
I haven't read it. No.
Capturing Kids' Hearts is a professional development, a company that comes in and kind of helps teachers with classroom management. And those 4 questions really help out a lot. So.
What are they again? What are the 4 questions?
So the 4 questions are, and you kind of kneel down, you kind of whisper, or you don't make a huge deal of it. Hey, what are you doing? Are you doing it? And then when they say no, you say, well, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hey, what are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing? Are you doing it? And then how can we fix this?
How can I help you?
And to be honest with you, later on in the year, like in the first, like by month 3 or so, I can say, hey, what are you doing? And they get right back on track. Like I don't even need to get to the second question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it puts the ball in their court, and it helps them realize that, they should be doing what I've asked them to do, rather than whatever they're doing.
And the reason why they're able to just get back on track is because of your consistency.
Yes. And I feel like as soon as I hear something, or as soon as I am, uh, as soon as I notice that something is off, I'm on it. Like
Hmm.
if I do it quick and to the point, and then they realize that uh, I'm consistent with the rules in the class, or the expectation of you doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be mean about it. I'm not. I mean, I would say that a lot of the students say I'm a nice teacher, but I often ask them. I say, like I'm strict. I don't even let you get out of your seat. So what makes me the nice teacher? I don't know. It's just like how you talk to us, So it's not about the strictness of the classroom. It's about how you treat them,
Yeah.
when you're addressing an issue.
Yeah. And you had mentioned, consistency. Consistency is so important. Being consistent with your rules, being consistent with your procedures. The minute you start to let things slide, the minute you decide, like not to say something when somebody, let's say your rule is not to use profanity in the classroom, and you heard somebody say the F word in the corner over there, but it was kind of low and it wasn't real, it was just like just a little, like you could pretend like you didn't hear it. You could pretend like you didn't hear it, but the rule is no profanity in the classroom, and you heard it. So as a classroom teacher, it's like, no, I heard it. You go over there and you address it. Like I feel like that kind of stuff. You can't let things slide. If you had said everybody has to line up a certain way, everybody has to do it that way. This is what we said we're going to do, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stick to it. And then, you know, later on, like, I don't know, in December, November, you could get a little, lax. Second semester, you could get a little, relaxed or whatever. You could joke around with them now. They're lined up, kind of funny, and you're like, oh, come on, guys, you guys know what we have to do. Everybody get, you know what you're supposed to do. You could be relaxed later, but the first few weeks, the first 4, 5, 6 weeks, you got to be on top of it. You have to be consistent. And I feel like this is where teachers lose it. This is where teachers will they could lose the entire year, the first few weeks, because they were not consistent with the rules. And I feel like that's something that every educator, every teacher needs to understand, this, that you can't, it's like, I made a post like this. It's like a chess game. your opening is extremely important, and your opening will dictate the rest of the game. If you have a poor opening and you lose a piece out the gate, and you're like, oh man, now you're just playing catch up the whole game. It's the same thing with classroom management. If you weren't consistent and you left somebody, you were like, you let something slide, you let another student slide. Now you're playing catch up for the rest of the year.
The majority of the time, it's me being like, sit down, sit down. And
Yeah.
it's straight to the point. And it's like, as soon as the student starts to stand up out of their seat, hey, you need to sit down. You need to sit down. And that really kind of quells any other. I mean, my first few years, it was exactly that. I lost the year in the first month.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from those years, and those kids are fine, right? Like
Yeah.
they're graduating this year, which is crazy. Well, some of them graduated last year, which is from high school, and I'm like, they turned out okay,
Yeah.
even though I was a mess. But like I learned from those years where it was like I lost the year in the first month, and if I'm not consistent in the first month, and I'm not, I hate the advice that older teachers would give of not smiling until Christmas or not smiling until Thanksgiving or whatever it is. Because I smile a lot. I smile on the very first day, and first impressions are really important. Like I want to make sure my kids know that I smile, and that I'm having a good time. But I do get the concept behind the not to smile,
Mm-hmm.
because those routines, procedures, norms, rules, expectations, all of those things are set in the first month. And if you let them get away with not meeting those expectations, then it's going to be really hard to reestablish them, I suppose.
The not smiling thing, that's interesting. So what I when I think about the not smiling till November or whatever, I've always held to that idea. Don't smile until November. But my tweak on it is when you're going over some sort of rule or some sort of classroom procedure or some sort of thing where you're talking business, you mean business. If you smile or you look like you're joking, it sends a mixed message.
Mm.
It sends a mixed message like, he's smiling or she's smiling. Like that's not she doesn't really mean it. He doesn't really mean it. And so when that whole idea of not smiling till November, for me, it's like when you're disciplining or you're going over rules or you're going over procedure, or you're going over some sort of expectation or something that matters, that's business. Your face is straight, in my opinion. Your face should be straight because you mean business, because you're not sending this mixed message like, he's smiling. He looks like he's gonna laugh. And so that's what I hold to, and I like to smile too. As the assistant principal, I like to joke too, but when it's business time, when it's like I'm dealing with behavior, when I'm dealing with like some sort of issue with a student in the class, whatever it is, I don't want to send a mixed message to where like, oh, he's playing, he's joking. That's how I take it.
Yeah, I think we agree on that for
Yeah,
sure. I think what I meant was when, for example, I line them up, outside the door before we walk in, and I greet every single one of them, and
yeah,
I want to make sure I greet them with a smile on my face on day one. I want to make sure that they know that I'm happy to see them. But yes, you're absolutely right. When I'm addressing an issue, like I'm I'm very stern. I'm quick to the point. My teacher voice comes out pretty strongly.
yeah,
And you mentioned language earlier too, like a cuss word, no cussing in class. Yeah, obviously, I don't want kids to use profane language in class. Based on the situation, I may, be like, hey, watch your mouth, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
But really, what I'm listening for is derogatory language.
yeah.
Things that would put different races down, or
Hmm.
different genders down, or
Hmm.
different sexual orientations down. That's
Hmm.
what I'm really listening for, and that's when you really get me uh,
Yeah,
get me going. And so a cuss word, I might go over and be like, put my hand on their desk and be like, hey, let's think about what we say before we say it.
yeah,
But when it
yeah,
comes to like derogatory language, like the N word, or
yeah.
other words that just degrade humans, I'm on it in a second, and it's like that I will put you on the spot for.
That's a good distinction. But you got to make sure that you're on top of those. you're right. When it comes to like saying the F word or saying some, a lot of times I'll say like, especially when I'm on the yard and I hear it on the basketball court, and it's like just somebody let it slip. I'm like, language, hey, language, we're out here, language. Like, oh my bad, mister, sorry about that. It's like, all right, just watch your language, like. But you're right, when it's something about a protected group or like some sort of racist comment or some sort of yes, you got to be on top of that, and you got to nip it in the bud immediately, because that will spread like wildfire fire. And I feel like teachers have a problem with language in the classroom, both like just profanity and derogatory terms, and they don't know how to handle language in the classroom. I've seen in my comments, like, what do you do with, like, this would be like in January, somebody put in my comments like, what do you do with language, profanity in the classroom? Or in my opinion, I'm like, man, January is kind of late. Like, if you haven't done anything and it's January, you missed the boat, and it's not gonna get any better.
Mm.
It's just hard to steer that ship back around when it's just been, it's kids are free to say whatever they want.
I would say that I'm often around January, and throughout the entire year. I'm always reflecting on what can be better in class, or how I can manage the class better, or um, but I'm always being like, well, I'm gonna have to start that next year.
Yeah,
Because I'm not going to be able to do that now. I'm not going to be able to change it, halfway through. The one thing that I really I was really thinking about it, and when I started implementing hand signals, like we talked about, I started implementing hand signals the first day of the second semester, the year that I did it, and I was contemplating, well, should I do it or not? Should I do it or not? I was able to do that. I was able to implement hand signals halfway through the year, but that was really the only thing. And I think it's because they were just simple. And I think like I said, the kids enjoy that way more than just trying to get my attention. Mr. Glenn, Mr. Glenn, Mr. Glenn, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah. Shout out again to Mr. V.
yeah,
So, what do you think that admin should be doing? What should admin be doing the first couple of weeks?
to start off the school year,
Yes,
let's start. Let's start before the school year starts.
let's
um,
do that.
give teachers a time in their classroom. Even if you have a day that legally, by the contract rules, you can have to do professional development the whole day. But there are definitely things that I think admin can get rid of on those days so that teachers can have some time in class. For example, icebreakers. I don't know. Like, I look, give us time to eat and chit chat with ourselves, but organized icebreakers, I have a hard time with, especially because I'm an introvert. Like I just, I'll sit and I'll eat breakfast and I'll talk, with whoever's around me. But I big groups of people make me anxious.
Yeah.
So I would say that give teachers time in their classroom. If you can, obviously there's mandatory things that admin has to go through, mandated by the district. So let's
Yes.
get through those as quick as we can, and then go work in your classrooms, and start thinking about, especially for the new teachers, start thinking about and start writing out. Obviously, if you're a writer, start writing out all of the procedures and all of the things that you want, how you want class to run, because I feel like that's going to be honest with you, if you give teachers a chance to do that, it might save you time during the school year with discipline issues,
Yes.
as admin, because hopefully those teachers are taking care of them themselves, and not having to rely on you to discipline.
Yeah, and so I know for the week before school starts, right? It's at our district. It's not mandatory. It's optional. So you could come in the first 3 or 4 days for professional development. It's optional, and you get paid for it if you do come in. And what it is the district just gives everybody, all the administrators, this canned, like, this is what needs to get done. It used to be in the past where like administrators would have more leeway, but now it's more like, no, this is what has to be done. These modules need to be done. And so what it is like now you got admin like, okay, now how I feel like good admin are like, we need to allow teachers to get in their classrooms to prepare. How do we, combine this one with this one? How do we give them some time? And it's like this hard balancing act. Like, well, okay, we got to do this, but we know that teachers need time. How do we fit that in? And every year it seems like it's getting more and more difficult to give teachers time. You could be a teacher at our district and be like, I don't want to go to those paid professional developments. I just want to get in my classroom. I don't need to be in any of those development. I'll start August, whatever is August 12th or whatever date it is. I'll start that first day, and that's an option. And some people choose it. Some people are like, I don't want to go to these paid, I don't want to do it. So that's enough. But I agree with you. The icebreakers, I mean, we already know each other for the most part. Me sitting here and doing this silly icebreaker with somebody that I feel very uncomfortable being around. And then that's it. And, I'm not, it's not like I'm going to spend time every day with this one teacher for the rest of the school year. It's not like that. So I'm with you on that. Icebreakers, I feel maybe they got to go.
We don't. We have a week of mandatory professional development,
Mandatory.
where I mean, we're obviously getting paid, but it's part of our. It's
It's in
part
the
of our work.
contract.
It's a work day. Yeah, it's in the contract. So we have a week. Usually we only have like 3 days. But now this year we have a week of meetings and stuff like that before the school year starts. Ours start August 19th. School starts August 19th. We go back August 12th. And I think that I, for one, completely understand that admin needs to get through certain things. And
Yeah.
not only that is, I think that setting a tone for how, building a community and setting a tone and setting the culture of how they want, teachers to be during the school year is really important. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important to have all of us in the same room for. But yeah, I feel like there's some chaff, cutting the chaff, so
Hmm.
that teachers can have more time in their classroom is definitely something that I think is imperative
Yeah.
to.
That's tough. And then, so the school year starts. What should admin be going in the first week of school to the classrooms? What do you think?
I look. I know that some teachers would have a hard time with this, but admin can walk in. I welcome anybody into my classroom at any time, so
Yeah.
they can be coming in on the first day. Um, I think that definitely popping your head in but not interrupting might be cool,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to set the tone in my classroom, and I really don't want somebody else coming in with an assumed more authority than me. If that, I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
Principal or the admin has an assumed authority over the teachers, right?
Yeah.
Like they have more authority to discipline,
Makes
to
sense.
defend, or whatever. So
Yeah.
if you're walking in, well, I'm trying to um, build up my authority in the classroom. That might, I don't know,
Undermine.
undermine. There's the word. Yeah, undermine my, because that's in my first week. Like that's what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
building up, authority in the classroom and letting them know that I'm the one in charge here.
Yeah.
And this is our class, but I have a role and you have a role, and my role is to make sure that you feel safe in class, that your needs are taken care of while you're with me, and that you're not being safe in class, and that you're learning.
Yeah.
And that's my responsibility. Your responsibility is to do the learning and make sure that you don't do anything to make anybody else unsafe.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So like I'm starting a new school, so I'm not the same school as I was the previous 3 years.
hmm,
So previous 3 years, if I were to go into that same school the previous that I was at before, um, I'd feel so confident. I'd feel so confident walking in the classrooms, walking throughout the hallways. I know everybody. I know all the teachers. I know all the kids. I know the parents. And so just making my presence felt. Like, let me just walk in. Let me say hi, good morning, how you doing? Walk in, walk in. I'm at a new school. Today I actually went to the new school and I talked to the principal. It's a big school. It's a lot bigger school than I was at before. And so, yeah,
still
you could. Still
Yeah.
elementary. I could still, I'm like, I'm in that school and I'm like, okay, day one, you feel a little intimidated. You're like, okay, I don't know the staff. I don't know the teachers. I don't know the kids. I don't know the parents. Where do I stand? Who do I greet? Like, who is, so I was walking through the school and I'm like, okay, day one's gonna be interesting. Day one is gonna be where like I'm just feeling it out. Like, just if I'm walking to the classroom, it's not to undermine anybody, it's to be like, okay, hi, I'm one of the assistant principals here, Mr. Vergara. Nice to meet everybody. And that's it. It's just to introduce myself because nobody knows me, and it's gonna be an interesting year for me. So that's a bit there. So my when I go in this year, it's that. It's just like, hi guys, how you guys doing?
Yeah.
Mr. Vergara, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, nothing crazy.
And you
So
have to
what do you
Yeah, I'm
go ahead?
sorry. You have to
No, go
build
ahead.
relationships with the students the same way I do, and how
Yeah,
are you going to do that if you don't make your presence known?
yeah. What do you do with kids the first week of school that refuse to follow any directions?
Hmm.
Like, it might not be happening in your classroom, but there are kids who refuse to just fall in line.
I think that those are the ones that I will hang out with at lunch. like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think those are the ones that I'm going to try to build stronger relationships with. Um, I, when I worked in juvenile hall, it was all of those students. But when I started going into their units, they have this day room, right? And I'll play video games with them
yeah,
after school. And I start building relationships with them. Well, then they started seeing, hey, look, I'm not like this authoritarian person that's just trying to tell you what to do and make your life miserable. I'm doing this to I'm for you, and here's me as a person. Here's me as a human being, and I'm going to see you as a human being as well before I see you as somebody that I'm in charge of. So I think those are the students that I would pick to develop really strong relationships with. I think
yeah,
eventually that would work.
yeah, yeah. Like, I'm with you on that. How do you help teachers understand that? How do you help teachers understand that it's important to build a relationship with students to give you trouble that are difficult students?
I mean, obviously, I can't just go to another teacher and tell them this is what I do. This is
Yeah,
what you should do.
yeah, no way.
But you know, I hope that I'm not, saying the wrong thing here. But I think that teachers see what I do. Teachers notice that I'm welcoming students in with a smile. Teachers notice that I'm hanging out with students during times that I have time, downtime or unstructured time, that I'm spending time with them and I see them as human beings. And I think that it's one of those things where like I can show them with my actions. I can show them with the fact that, hey, I'm still really happy to see this student, even though this student gives everybody a hard time, and so I think the only thing I can think of, because unless a teacher straight out asks me, you know, I'm not going to go to them and be like, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do want to show them with my actions. I want to show them um, with my love.
Yeah, I feel like it's easier to do it on social media than it is to do it in person. So
Mm.
if I were to be in the classroom and I saw that this was happening, and for me to go up to a teacher and say, "Hey, by the way, maybe you should do this," it's kind of hard to tell somebody to do something inside a classroom. But on social media, if I were to make a video and say, like, "Okay, this is how you create a relationship with a student, this is what you should do," and you give some sort of tips, and teachers could take it or leave it. They could be like, "Oh, this is garbage, I don't want," or, "Oh, this is good, I'll save this video, I could use this video." And it's like this safe spot. It's a safe spot on social media where nobody's really shoving it down your throat, or nobody's making you feel uncomfortable because they're in your classroom telling you what you should be doing. It's just this safe spot on, where you're watching on your couch. You're like, "Oh, I like that, I'm gonna save that, I could use that." I feel like social media in that sense is an easier way to reach um, teachers when it comes to classroom management, because classroom management is a difficult situation, especially if you're talking to somebody in their classroom about their classroom management, about how they're not doing something. That's hard to do. And I feel like social media creates a spot for, people like you, myself, and other educators who are talking about classroom management or building relationships with students, to give a little advice about that.
Yeah, no, and I have I always felt like it has been hard for before I started like making those talking to the camera type videos, where
Yeah, yeah.
I'm putting the phone in front of my face and talking to the camera. I shied away from those because I never thought that I could articulate what I do well.
Hmm.
I felt like if somebody were to come and watch me, then they would understand a whole lot more than if I was to just explain it to them. Um, and obviously, like I said, I'm welcome anybody into the room at any time to come and watch if they want to. But I've gotten better at articulating, and I think TikTok has kind of made me better at that, articulating like what I
Yeah,
do in the class, and how to do it in a way that's non-threatening. Um, you
yeah.
know, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
How's that TikTok journey going for you? How's everything going on TikTok?
It's fine. I reached 10,000 followers, and I signed up to get paid.
Yeah.
But that has been a slow go because
Yes.
it feels like TikTok throttles my views
Yes.
because they don't want to pay me.
That's right.
So here I am trying to do as much as I can. But this is what I was going to say this too. And I've done a video on this too, is TikTok has made me a better teacher. Being able to hook people in with those first few words, and put something up on the screen, the words that like describe what I'm going to talk about, um, that helps me in the classroom a ton. And not only
Yes.
that, like my classes run in 4 minute chunks, and I feel like even 4 minutes is too long for some sixth graders, because in only a couple seconds, they will swipe if they're not interested, and especially middle school,
Hmm.
and being able to hook students, being able to do things in really short chunks, being able to be straight and to the point and do things in less than or just over a minute, right?
Yeah.
And has made me a better teacher, and it has made me more engaging in the classroom. So, if anything, if I'm not getting any money from TikTok, if I'm not getting any views, I feel like I'm going to still keep on making the videos because it's really good practice for me.
I agree. I don't make a ton of money either. I have a lot of followers, but TikTok I feel throttles my I don't know. There are some videos that I feel like, oh, that's a good video, and it start like I'll look at the analytics, and a lot of people watched it, and a lot of people liked it, and a lot of people shared it, but then all of a sudden it just stopped, and it doesn't get, it's not doesn't get shared anymore or something like that, which is whatever. It is
Yeah.
what it is, but it has made me think about different ideas. Like I'll sit, like I type things out. So it's rare that like sometimes I'll like a lot of videos that I'm in my car are off the top of my head, or I've thought about it and I'm like, okay, I have an idea. Let me just talk. The videos that I'm in my room are a video that I've actually sat and really thought about and
Mm.
typed it out and was like, let me just move this word around. This makes more sense. And this is the idea that I want to get across right here. Boom. This is what I want to say about this topic. And it's really helped me become better at classroom management, better at formulating my ideas, and I'm quicker with it too. Like I could get to the point quick. And so that in that sense, getting to the point, TikTok has helped me. TikTok has helped me with meeting good educators.
Mm.
I met a lot of different good educators. Some of you and some people that have been on my podcast, and just people that I'll DM or we'll talk. Um, I've met some pretty interesting people in that sense. And then TikTok has helped me, like in the comments. TikTok has helped me to not get triggered as easy.
I still have a hard time being like, okay, maybe I should just not respond to that person. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the hardest thing because I'll type out a huge response and be like, delete, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and just not respond.
Yeah, that's one thing that like before it bothered me, and it bothers me less now. like now this it's been like I don't know, it's been almost 2 years. So it bothers me. It still bothers me. Some of them bother me. Like I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe you said this. A lot of times my response to some of these things will be like, well, how do you think we should do it then?
Right,
Like if
right.
my way is wrong, then what is your way? Let's hear that. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I won't even get a response back. 9 times out of 10, they won't even respond back. Like, well, and then 9 times out of 10 is usually those faceless accounts, faceless accounts with no followers or no pictures or something like that. Those are the people that are most critical in the comments, you know. So, but it's been an interesting journey.
They also give you the most fodder to respond to and make another video. So,
Yeah, exactly.
well,
I've seen.
I learned that the hard way too. I had this one video that had tons of young people just reaming on the old teacher trying to do the young person thing, and I learned very quickly that engagement is engagement, and you should just ride the wave.
Yeah,
Make response videos and keep that engagement going because that's what's going to cause more people to kind of look at your page.
yeah. You're right. And I've tried to just stay in my lane. I've just tried to stay in my lane where, like, you see all the trendy, like, all the different words that these young kids are using or whatever,
Mm.
right? Like, that's not my lane. That's not. I don't even use those words. Like, I wouldn't even use any of those words. When those kids say these words to me, I know what they are. I know what they mean, but
Yeah,
I'm not going to use them back to them because that's just not me.
I will only use them to get a laugh.
Yeah.
If I want them to laugh, I'll say it, and I'll be like, "How do the young people say it these days? How do these young whippersnappers say it these days? You know, skibbity."
Yeah.
And the kids will laugh, and that's really I'm just trying to be cringe a little bit.
Yeah. Like I just try to stay in my lane as much as I can and do make these videos about classroom management and help out as many people as I possibly can. And I don't know how long I'm gonna do it, because but you just keep doing them, and I don't know.
I firmly believe, and I've told you this before, that I firmly believe that I think teachers, we're seeing a lot of teachers quitting, and we're seeing a lot of teachers just being unhappy with the profession, and there's a lot of systems that are causing that to happen. But there's also a lot of things that teachers can do to make themselves like the job more. And I think that some of the advice that you give will help teachers love their job again. And so, and if they actually implemented some of the things that you talked about, or that you talk about in your videos, I think that they would really enjoy their job and they would enjoy their kids, even the difficult ones. So,
Hmm. I saw your video yesterday,
mm.
or you're gonna give some information about how to enjoy your job.
Yeah, I posted the first one today, this
Okay.
morning, and it's about social and emotional learning,
Okay.
and about how we spend the first few weeks of school in my math class talking about growth mindset. And that's the kind of I think there's a ton of teachers who hear all these words, these social emotional learning and restorative justice, and all these like buzzwords that we all say, um, and they think it's difficult to implement, but it's like so easy to implement. It's not as hard as they think it is, and all we do is talk about growth mindset, and we talk about mistakes, and we talk about adjusting, and we talk about taking risks, and all of
Yeah.
that. That's social and emotional learning right there in my math class, and it's super easy to take 5 minutes and just talk about it for a second with the class.
Yeah.
And if you do it at the beginning of the year, like when you're doing procedures and routines, um, all it is maintenance from then on out. Like they realize, hey, I can, even though I don't know what to do in this math problem, I can still do math, and I can still try this and get it wrong and try again and get it wrong and try again and get it wrong, and eventually the light bulb is gonna go off. And it's not as hard. Social and emotional learning is not as hard as I think teachers think it is. Restorative justice is not as hard as I think teachers think it is.
No.
It's very easy, and these are the things that I think teachers can do themselves, despite all of the flaws in the system. to make them love their job. Um,
I feel like they think it's something separate, like it's some sort of separate extra curriculum that you're trying to teach, the kids, and it doesn't have to be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
no,
Like restorative conversations, that doesn't have to be something separate. That could be held like in the middle of your class. If as the teacher, let's say you made a mistake as a teacher, and I don't know, you assumed that this person did something and they didn't do it. It was this other kid, and you lashed out at one of the kids.
and we do our restorative circles when I have like 10 minutes left of class.
Yeah, but you could do it then.
So like I have, some teachers do it at the beginning, but like if I have 10 minutes left, I'm like, okay, let's circle up and talk about our weeks.
Yeah,
That's a restorative practice. That's how community gets built in your classroom, and it's not hard.
yeah. It's not like if you talked about making mistakes. I had this thing in my one of my rules was we need to have strong minds in our classroom. So one of the things was like, okay, strong mind. If you could, it's okay to make mistakes. When a kid would make a mistake, I would be like, good, it's wrong, good. Now what? Now what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna shrivel up and shrink and be like, oh, I don't get it? What can you do? I go like, this mistake is gonna lead you to the right answer. If you allow it, this mistake will be like, you'll see something and be like, oh, this is how I do it. It'll lead you to the right answer. So making mistakes is fine. And you have to have a strong mind. You have to believe that you can succeed. Right. So I'd always say, oh, they'd be like, Mister, I don't know how to do this. I'd be like, good. Now what? Good. Now what?
Mm.
I would always say stuff like that to him. I had to, it was always about, I had this like whole hand gesture thing where it was like, you have to have a strong mind. You have to be able to focus. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to show love. And I point to my heart and I'd go to my hands. I'm like, you have to have hard work. And I'd show my hands. And then teamwork. You'd have to like go like this. You have to have teamwork. I go, you do all these things in this classroom. I go, this is all what we do in this classroom. In all the subjects, you're doing these things. And I'm going to point it out when I see it. And I point it out, like, look at this person working hard, hard work, strong mind. Look at this person sharing. That's love right there. Look at teamwork right here.
Mm.
And I would look at how focused this person has a focus. The person is communicating correctly with it, and I would just point this stuff out like these are the skills that are needed in the classroom. Really, these are in life. These are the skills that are needed in life. And we're just teaching math and science and English and history, but we're really doing these skills. And I think that that's important. And yeah, that's the key, I feel. But
And it's not hard.
it's not hard.
It's not hard. It's not
Yeah,
difficult.
it's not hard. And like you had made a post. I want to bring up this post. It was a news article, or it was an article from board teachers.
Uh,
And and this reminds me of that article, what you're saying right now about these buzzwords or whatever, and how they're meant. Like in that article, it was meant to, like, I don't know, in a negative way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. These are innovations, right? When I was going through school, when I was in high school and in middle school in the late 1900s, um, we didn't have any of that. It was hard nose and
Hmm.
sent to the office and suspensions and
Hmm.
but the thing is, like, today's students, they don't work that way. Like, and so we've innovated. We've
Yeah.
gotten better as a system, and these are ways that the system has actually improved. And in disciplining students, we're teaching them rather than just punishing them.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like the teacher that wrote those words and commented on them just wanted to go back to the 1900s.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if you're not willing to innovate with the good innovations in education, then you're going to hate your job. You're,
Hmm.
I mean, if this is the way things are going and you're pushing back on that, then of course you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah. If you're always looking at the negative side, oh, everything's negative. This, oh, here we go. It's the restorative circles. Oh, social emotional learning. Oh, we have to. If it's always negative, it don't matter. It doesn't even matter if it's at a school. If you're working at Target, or if you're working at wherever, if you're always negative about the situation, your mindset is negative, you're gonna hate everything that you do. So I think a lot of what you do, Mr. Glenn, is you bring out the positive side and on your social media. You're always positive. You're one of the more positive guys on social media, where you're talking about You're here for the kids. You're here to support the kids. You're here to build relation with the students with the most difficult behavior. Your whole life is about like just saying, how do I help these kids right here? And you're pretty positive about it. And I think because of that, it makes you want to be a teacher. But if you were the opposite of that, if you were negative and always talked about how terrible teaching and education and the system is, you're going to hate your job. You're not going to want to be there.
You're not going to want to be there. And you shouldn't, to be honest.
Yeah, you should probably go.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Glenn, before we end the podcast, Mr. Glenn, what are some tips that you could give, the best tips that you have for a teacher opening the school year? Some fundamental things that they need to do, to open up the school year before we end this one.
I mentioned that I don't really write things down, but I would highly encourage newer teachers to write stuff down. And start thinking about all of the details. How do you, in an ideal world, with no misbehaving students, how do you want class run? And how do you want your time in class to look? And start thinking about that, and then start thinking about how you can have these expectations and procedures and routines that help students not even think about anything else other than what they're learning. They're not thinking about their phones. They're not thinking about, the person sitting next to them. They're not thinking about saying nasty things to the person sitting next to them. Yeah. They're just coming in, and it just becomes natural to them to walk in your class and do exactly what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Because if you start thinking about that now, you can start, and it might take years, but you can start thinking about the routines that you want to put in place that would help a student get to that point. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, good. Start thinking about all the little things, like how do you want students to walk in? How do you want students to knock on the door? How do you want students to go to the bathroom? How do you want students to walk around class? How do you want them to exist in your class? And then how do you want them to walk out?
Yeah.
But
if I thought about this earlier when I was driving home from my new job, and I was like, if I were to give one piece of advice to a new teacher, it'd be like to remember that we're working with people. You got to remember you're working with people. You're working with kids. You're working with teachers. You're working with the admin. You're working with parents. And working with people is messy. Working with people is messy, and it's not clean cut. It's not cut and dry, right? You're working with people. And most people just want to be, they want you to be safe around them. Most people want you to be respectful. Most people want you to show them kindness. And most people want you to be flexible. Do the things that will work well when working with people. And if you're thinking about doing something that's not going to work well with people, don't do it. Don't do those things, because it is a people job. You are working with people, and flexibility is huge. Like being kind is huge. Loving people is huge. Just understanding that we are all human beings that struggle. They're going through stuff, and we're just people that, want to be respected and cared for. And, we're people. I think that we forget that. We forget that. So, But anyway, Mr. Glenn, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate you coming out a second time. It was good to see you, and good to hear your advice that you gave for the first 4 to 6 weeks. So thank you.
Good luck in your new job.
Yes. All right, Mr. Glenn. Don't leave yet, though.